All right, I need all Michigan and Ohio State fans to lock in with me for a second. Now, I know there's been a lot of lead up to this game on off-the-field stuff, obviously with the sign stealing and Harbaugh and Burgergate at the beginning of the year. But I want to let everybody know, this Saturday, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, Ohio, Michigan, there are no excuses. From the Ohio State perspective, was Michigan stealing signs? Probably. Most teams do, and they go about it different ways. But it's out in the open now. Harbaugh's already serving the sentence. That will not be an excuse this Saturday if it goes bad. On the Michigan side, if y'all lose, I want to hear anything about Jim Harbaugh being suspended. The man's been suspended half the year. This is basically the new normal. The real question is, which one of these teams is going to be able to move on in what is pretty much a de facto play-in game for the playoff? No, disrespect to the Big Ten West, but let's be honest, nobody's really scaring anybody to death over there. The only signs I want to hear about are the funny ones on game day and in the stands. The only stallions I want to hear about are the ones in the backfield for both teams. This is a showdown. This is pure, unadulterated hate. It's a top-shelf liquor rivalry, whether you're from the state of Ohio or whether you're from the state of Michigan. We're going to find out this Saturday who's really about it. Both teams have dealt with controversy. Both teams have dealt with adversity. But this Saturday, it's man on man. You're going to put your hand in the dirt, and you're going to go get after it, and we're going to find out who the best team really is. Now, at the end of this game, whether it's J.J. McCarthy making the plays, whether it's Kyle McCord making the plays, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Blake Corum running the ball, legends will be made, legends will be destroyed. But regardless of which team you root for, just remember rule number 76, no excuses, play like a champion. Bringing my co-host
pulling out the rule book this week?
Former Michigan, pulling out the rule book.
Wow.
Don't want to hear about it. It's all out in the open now in front of God and everybody. I'm going to bring in my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crane. David, when you look at this matchup right now, the spread on DraftKings Sportsbook, use promo code Crane, C-R-A-I-N, has Michigan minus 3.5 at home. The over-under's at 46.
It's a pick'em.
It's basically a pick'em. Right now, the money is on Ohio State. I'm hoping that line comes down to 2.5. But what is your feeling as a Michigan alum? Mm-hmm. Just tell me right now what's in your heart.
First of all, let me just say this is the best week of the year. This is the biggest game of the year. Rarely do I get emotionally invested in sporting events like I did when I was younger. This week is always different. And it starts from the time the clock ended last Saturday, and it starts for both teams. And the week is just different. And it's proof that you don't have to be steeped in this rivalry from a young age, because I was not. I'm from South Georgia. Yeah. But this is a school, the University of Michigan, that offered me a scholarship to come play football for them. All I ever wanted to do when I was little was play college football. They were the ones who believed in me. So I committed to that school. And my mom's from Columbus, Ohio. So the only thing I was steeped in this rivalry was from the other side, to be honest. But it's amazing that what Jim Harbaugh has been able to do to be able to get this rivalry back to the respect level. Because when you and I met, the Buckeyes had won 8 straight of these, and we were looking at each other saying, what in the world's going on here? Now, one decade, no one decade can determine the fate of a rivalry that's 130 years old. And I've talked about this with Kirk Herbstreit as well. It's like, hey, both sides want this to remain the greatest rivalry in sports, and they think that that's the case. But, when I look at all of this stuff that's going on off the field here, when you talk about, advanced scouting and all the drama and all the name calling, all of it's going to fade away. High noon on Saturday is going to fade away, because you have 2 football programs here who understand, wow, this rivalry actually means something for the national landscape again, not just for us. So this will be the first time in history that the 2 teams have met undefeated back-to-back seasons, which is truly incredible. And like you said, a de facto play-in game. To me, it's all about the defenses, man. Michigan and OSU have the 2 best scoring defenses in the country. A large part of that are the teams that they're playing and the style of offenses that they're playing in the Big Ten. But regardless, Michigan's given up 99 points so far this year. OSU's given up 102, and if it weren't for that field goal late last week, they would have given up the exact same number of points. OSU has given up the fewest TDs in the country. Even last year, Jim Knowles, his first year at OSU as the DC, had the 24th best scoring defense, but we saw late in that game, running cover 0 against Michigan, they were able to break some big runs. But if you look back at the past 2 years when Michigan has won, OSU was up on Michigan 20-17 last year. Michigan made their halftime adjustments, blew them out, only gave up 3 points in the second half. Go back to 2021. It was a 14-13 game at halftime. Michigan made their halftime adjustments, won the second half 28-14. So I'm expecting a very close football game, especially for the first half, because that's what we've seen. Now, when it comes to halftime, I know Jesse Minter and that defense can go in, make the adjustments they need to make. But on the other side of it, how much of a loss is it going to be not having Jim Harbaugh over there? Not because any one play call or any one game decision going for a fourth down or a two-point conversion, not because that necessarily is going to be different, but when Sharon Moore has had to be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the offensive line coach for 3 games this year, Michigan's offense has not looked quite the same, and J.J. McCarthy has had a 55.4 QBR in those 3 games, 91.9 in the other games. So will he be able to go in and make the halftime adjustments he needs as the play caller when he's also holistically trying to be the head coach of the team?
No, it's a good question. I doubt Jim Knowles is going to be playing any zero coverage in this game after what happened to him last game. Really kind of cost him down the stretch. If you don't know what cover zero is, it's just basically straight man across the board with no help. No help at all. One guy beats you deep, it's a wrap. We saw one guy makes one false step on defense and loses leverage. It's a touchdown offensively. I will say, I wonder, David, obviously Harbaugh's not going to be there, but how much has Michigan held for this game?
Yes.
Remember, against Penn State, they threw the ball one time in the second half, got a defensive pass interference, so it didn't even register. So, obviously there's going to be something in the tank for this one. They were very vanilla against Maryland. I just brought up Penn State. That's an aspect I'm really wanting to see. But it's basically the new norm now for this team this year, right?
Yep.
Not having Jim Harbaugh there. So, look, it's like Colonel Aldo Raine said, how do you get to the Grand Ole Opry? Practice.
I know there's a lot of people frustrated by some of the play calls and some of the decisions made the last 2 games. Like, are we really just going to run it every single play against Penn State? Are we really going to struggle down the stretch against Maryland? But, that just shows, that tells me how much time you've spent around the game in your life to understand, because you can see it on the field.
You can watch it.
Michigan is clearly holding stuff back with this conservative play calling and not wanting to get guys hurt, which is a dangerous game against any team in the Big Ten. Mike Loxley and Maryland, you could wind up losing that game. They almost lost to Indiana last year, the game before, and OSU played a tight game the game before. So, look, this happens on both sides. You're going to see wrinkles. You're going to see stuff that's gotten set up every single week leading up to this game. Ryan Day as well. And, to me, J.J. McCarthy has regressed a little bit these past few weeks in terms of his accuracy down the field and his decision-making with trying to squeeze these balls in. But I'm not as worried about it because I've seen him deliver in the biggest moment in this game last year. And I think part of it, too, is just a lot of the turmoil that's gone on around the field. So both defenses are going to get after these quarterbacks. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be the best football player on the field in a lot of ways. He's going to make some big plays. But, he was on that team last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I've seen him have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So they've proven to be able to clamp down on defense against some of the best receivers in the history of the rivalry. Is TJ Timoelau going to be able to get after J.J. McCarthy and really make his presence known? The Michigan front seven is proven to be elite. So all in all, I think we're in for a really good ball game.
Hey, everybody out there, we have a ton of sports in action. NFL, NHL, college football, college basketball. If you're a sports fan, something's on that you like. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and use our code CRANE, that's C-R-A-I-N. It's not spelled like the bird, C-R-A-I-N, because new customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Make sure and use that code CRANE, C-R-A-I-N. With DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Well, Blaine, the difference this year is J.J. McCarthy's the experienced quarterback coming into this game. The more experienced quarterback, or kind of the more heralded quarterback. Here's the question I have. If you're Ohio State and you're Ryan Day, you've gone on the road and played Notre Dame with Kyle McCord. You've been in tough environments. Not the hardest schedule of all time. I think we can all agree on that. But how much do you let him ride in this game? Listen, we're going to throw it around. I don't think you can play it safe with Kyle McCord and survive this game in the Big House with the style that Michigan plays. Because I don't think Michigan's going to, run for 350 yards, but I call their offense smushy, and not in the bad way. They just smush you going forward, set up that play action, get JJ on the move. If you're Ryan Day, how open is this offense with Kyle McCord? How much trust are you putting in Kyle McCord on the road in his first game in the game. Are you letting him sling that thing around or what?
Well, yeah, the defense will dictate what you need to do as the offense, obviously. But I do think since this game's on the road, you got to let him go a little bit. If this game was at home, I think you could play a little bit more conservative. But we all know what this is going to come down to. It's going to come down to the trenches in this football game. Mm-hmm. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage is going to open up their playbook a lot more and will have more success. Kyle McCord hasn't been looking great, but the last month and a half, he's looked okay. The Michigan's defense, what's your game plan here? Okay? 1, Ohio State's running back's back. He hadn't been healthy for this game in a while. Henderson, I believe, he's going to be a big piece. He's going to be a big piece. Do you double Marvin? All right, and that leaves it open to what? And Buka to maybe make some plays. He's looking healthy. He's looking good. If you control the line of scrimmage, you're not running on Michigan's defense. You look at 78 out there. That thing's haunt my nightmares when I go to sleep. I have to chase that kid down on the sideline.
Yeah, he ran that dude down.
It's disgusting.
I felt really good about the next World War.
I don't even want to talk about it. But then you flip it on the other side. I mean, Michigan, since Jim Harbaugh's been out, and I know they played one of the teams they played against Penn State, but that offense hasn't looked the same. JJ hasn't looked the same. So how much do you trust JJ in this game? All right, he's proved in big moments that he can show up, but he's thrown a couple passes these last couple games that I'm not used to seeing him throw. And there's certain mistakes you can't make in this game from a momentum side of this, all right? If Ohio State can catch some momentum early in this game, there's no way you need to try to come back in this game on the road in the big house. It's going to be tough. Yep. So a couple keys. Set the line of scrimmage. Whoever can win the line of scrimmage is going to have a great chance in this football game. Whoever turns the ball over the least has a great chance in this football game. And who can get 7 instead of 3?
Yeah, and we always say this to kind of put a bow on it. We want to know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We got call-ins. The line's going to open here at 7:15 a.m. Central, 8:15 a.m. Eastern. We always say this. Most teams lose games. They don't win them. But I think there's a balance in this one between playing it safe and playing it too safe, because these games typically come down to 3 to 5 plays, sometimes even less. Who gives up the special team score? Is there a block punt? Is there a kickoff return? Does something go wrong? Does somebody fumble a snap deep in their own territory? There is a fine line between playing it safe and playing it too safe. That's why I'm so intrigued to watch the way that these two teams go about it. I just want no excuses, like that one song. I can't remember the rapper's name. Again, we want to know what you think. And again, the line, it's at 3.5 in Michigan. To me, I'm going to see if this thing gets bet down, but if it doesn't get bet down, I'm going to buy it down a point, and I'm going to hammer Michigan at -2.5. I just trust JJ more than Kyle at the end of the day. If everything else is even, I trust JJ McCarthy more than I do Kyle McCord. I'm not going to touch the total, the over 46 or under 46. Obviously, I know where you're leaning.
Well, of course, look, I'm always going to be biased in who I pull for to win this game, but I'm not ever going to be biased in just what I see and trying to be as objective as possible when it comes to what the two teams have when they're facing off with each other. I've never since I've been affiliated with the rivalry, I've never seen Michigan favored on the Vegas odds before. So it's really unusual to see that, and your head coach is suspended. That is wild to me. Look, I think we're in for a really close game. The over-under is the one that I really don't know about. Initially, I thought, well, over, because we've seen that the last 2 years. And like you said, I think both offenses have been saving something up for this game. Then you see, well, they're the number 1 and 2 scoring defenses in the country. But you say a lot of times when you have a defensive matchup, sometimes that line gets lower. You bet the over. So I would lean over on this. But look, it could be a Notre Dame OSU repeat. Like a 17-10 type game, and I would never be surprised.
Well, there's a caveat on that one thing you said about the defensive match, unless it's Iowa. There's a caveat.
Just wait till our best bets
26.5 Iowa, Nebraska right now. And to be honest with you, the under looking mighty juicy. Blaine, is there a number you like in this game?
Over-under is at 43.5.
46.
46.5.
46.
That just doesn't feel like enough to me. It really doesn't. Look, Michigan's going to take some shots. Ohio State's going to take some shots. This is going to be this is a national championship for both these teams. All right, they're not. Michigan's not going to only throw it one time in the second half.
No,
I like the over in this game. I for sure like the over.
We'll see. Everybody on YouTube, it's rivalry week. But guess who's not a rival? Us, unless you disagree with us. But that's fine. We encourage dissent. By the way, while you're here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn that notification bell on so you can find out every time that we drop content.